you were in the position that Peter Bendix has found himself in. And that's you had two starters in Sandy and Cabrera that everybody wanted. And it didn't the talk all week was starting pitching is going to matter so much. Everybody is in on these starting pitchers that could be sold, whether it was Joe Ryan or Dylan Cease or the two guys in Miami. So Miami has been playing great baseball. You know, they have surprised everybody. They're on a hot streak right now. So you hold on to those two players, and now you have a fan base because we see the Miami chirping. Like we see those comments because of the Levitard universe and the fans that are surrounding that. You didn't trade the two starters, and you're getting crushed for it by not getting anything back for the starters. But then you have the other side who's like, no, this is great. This means that, we're a different team. We're holding on. This is our hope. They could make a run. How did you sort of deal with those comments? Because Peter Bendix is in that position that you always seem to find yourself in.
Yeah, I tended to ignore. I very much was like the East German judge in gymnastics, in that I viewed that fan comments after the deadline as so many standard deviations away from my reality that I'd be able to ignore it. Just as I would also view when we would sign Reyes and Burley and win the offseason, I would ignore the American judge who gives the 10.0, because the truth is always somewhere in the middle. The Marlins were in an impossible position. We talked about it on a recent Nothing Personal when we said that the Marlins playing well was a nightmare for the Marlins front office, because their plan was to absolutely take advantage of the market for Alcantara and Cabrera, as it should have been. Because when you've got the pieces in place, which the Marlins do, they've got young pitching that is going to now be ready. You don't need to pay Sandy $17 million a year, because you're able to replace him with a large group of young performing pitchers who, like the '03 World Series team, you can sprinkle in a veteran at the end, but you've got to have the Pavano, the Penny, the Beckett, young, young, young. However, you're always fighting against the franchise reputation in Miami. You always want to be different. We tried to be different so many times. The signing of Stanton, everything we did was to try to erase what Huizinga had did, what John Henry had did, what we had done. When you churn the roster, you want continuity. You want the belief that you have someone who is the core of your team who will be kept. And then you're forced into making an emotional decision. Don't believe when the analysts will tell you, oh, they can get as much for Sandy during the offseason. Not true. The maximum for position players off season, I'm in. It's fine. It can work. You can maximize. But for bullpen arms, that's number one. The max return for bullpen arms is the deadline. The number two max return is for starters. Controllable starters are only one tick below controllable hot bullpen arms. And you saw what teams had to give up, whether it was Rogers, who's not controllable, and you're the Mets, or Duran, who is controllable, and you're the Phillies. So for me, I felt for the Marlins, Coca. I felt for them. I've been there, and you don't know what to do. You have in your mind that you're going to get a certain return, and then you think about it, you're offered that return, but you can't pull the trigger because you know that the return that you love is players who the fans haven't heard of, and it's just going to be numbers in the system of the team you're trading with. And then you get close to 6 o'clock, and then you leak out to the media the way the Marlins did, and you'll notice they leaked it out through Craig Mish, and it happened like at 5:56. That it came out and said the Marlins will not be trading Sandy Alcantara. They are staying put, and they are going to keep going for it this season. What do? It gets the fan base riled up and excited. Is it realistic? We'll find out.